Hey, Pretty Girl Club. This is going to be another shit talking video. I don't feel like editing this one either. I want to talk about the types of men I don't date, part three. Yes, I'm always complaining. Yes, this is a part of the Decentering Men series, basically. And be sure to check out Blunt Girlie's video. I noticed she did like a response to my video. Just a warning, this is going to be very offensive. So, this channel in general is not for the faint of heart. But types of men I don't date. Number one, Cameroonians. They like to beat women's asses. I had a friend that was like dating this Cameroonian guy. I've just never heard of a Cameroonian guy who is mentally stable and sane. Like every Cameroonian guy I've ever met has literally been some sort of abuser. Number two, Nigerians, because they like to be controlling while simultaneously cheating. It's like, how are you trying to make me be faithful and loyal and all this other crap? Meanwhile, you have a whole other family in Nigeria. I remember I went on one date with a Nigerian guy. I went on my first and last date with a Nigerian guy. He was like one of those, he was a mixed race Nigerian dude. He was like a light skinned black guy. And that was my first time ever trying that. And I was like, you know what? I'm being very closed minded. Let me open myself up. Let me not stereotype people. I'm going to try going on a date with this guy who's Nigerian. So I went on a date with this guy, and this guy literally starts humbling me in the midst of the date. So I remember we were going into the restaurant, and I was wearing my hair natural, and I had a couple of clip-ins in the back. So my hair was kind of like a silk press or whatever. So you know how like when it's humid, your hair can get a little bit frizzy. So my hair got a little bit frizzy. I have a little bit of like a cow lick on my hair. So kind of like the curls started popping out a little bit. So we were standing in line to sit down, and he was like, "Are you part Mexican?" And I was like, "Well, actually, yes. Why?" And he was like, "Well, you look black from the front angle, but when you turn to the side, like when I looked at your hair," he basically started going in on my hair and how because of the frizz and the way that my hair naturally curls, it makes me look part Mexican. And I was thinking, okay, that's a little weird and random, but whatever. So I was like, you know what? Maybe he's just nervous. So we sit down and then we're like eating and talking and stuff. And then he brings up my hair again. He's like, "Is that your real hair? Is that all your hair?" And I was like, "No, I have a couple of clip ins in the back." So then he starts talking about how he really likes natural beauty. And then he was like, "Is that your natural beauty?" And then I was like, "Well, I'm wearing fake lashes." I thought that he was talking about makeup and stuff like that when he was talking about natural beauty. And I was like, "Well, I am wearing lashes." And he was like, "Oh, I already know you're wearing lashes. Those are fake as fuck." This is on a date. This is on the first date. So I'm like, "Okay." I was just kind of thinking this is awkward. And then we kept eating and talking, and then he starts asking me about whether I have an Instagram, and I'm like, "Yeah, I do have an Instagram." So I share my Instagram with him, and then he starts going in lecturing on how Instagram is where you can transfer spirits and demons, and he starts talking about how Instagram is basically demonic and how he doesn't show his face on Instagram because he doesn't want people to like give him bad energy or whatever. And I was just kind of listening like, "Okay." And so then he starts going on a rant, basically lecturing me about how I shouldn't be showing my face on Instagram. So I try to gradually change the subject, and I've started asking him about Nigeria and stuff like that. And I'm like, "Okay, so how long have you been in the US? Like, were you born here? Were you born in Nigeria?" And then he randomly starts going on this rant about how his ex cheated on him and how he's single. So notice how I ask him literally about Nigeria. I'm asking him about his cultural background, and he gradually changes the subject to the negative aspects of his ex girlfriend. And he talks about how she cheated on him and how she would try to take his money. And so at this point, I was starting to get annoyed. So he kept on ranting, and I was like, "Well, did you cheat on her first?" And this guy literally admitted that he cheated on her first. So he admits that he is actually a cheater and that basically she cheated back and then he dumped her. Has anyone else noticed how a lot of guys who complain about women cheating on them, usually it's after he has already cheated on her first? Like, I have met multiple guys like that where they'll complain about women being unfaithful, but it's like, dude, you were already unfaithful the entire time. Like, have you ever even been in a relationship where you did not cheat your way out? I mean, they talk about women monkey branching, but it's like, dude, you're monkey branching yourself. Anyway, so we kept talking on the date or whatever, and he starts talking about smoking weed. So I don't date smokers at all. I don't date men who smoke weed or cigarettes, black and milds. I don't care what you're smoking. I don't date smokers. So I told him that. I told him I don't smoke and I also don't date smokers. And then this guy starts trying to convince me about all of the benefits of smoking marijuana, and I try to politely say like, "No, thanks, I'm good. I don't wanna smoke or anything." And he was, like, talking about how it calms him down, how it cures his anxiety, and he just kept going on and on about all the different benefits of weed. And then I finally was like, "Wait, are you high right now? Like, did you just smoke before you got here? Because you basically admitted that you smoke all the time, like, all day long." And he was like, "Yeah, I actually did smoke before I came here." At that point, I'm like, "Oh my god." But then it gets worse. So, I politely, we ended the date, everything was fine. I just played it off because of my safety. I didn't want him to get angry or anything. So I was just like, "Okay, well, it was really I had a lot of fun or whatever." So then I went home, and as soon as I got home, this guy was already blowing up my phone. I was like, "I just saw you 2 hours ago. Why are you already blowing up my phone and calling me?" So, he starts texting me. He's like, "No goodnight text? You didn't even call me to say goodnight before you went to bed?" And I was thinking, "Okay, something is wrong with him." And so then I just ignored it and I went to sleep, and I woke up, this guy had called me multiple times, and he's like, "You're not gonna give me a good morning text? Why didn't you call me back?" So he's already being extremely controlling, acting as if we're married when I had literally just met this guy and I had just hung out with him less than 24 hours prior. This is the one Nigerian guy that I ever dated. So I was thinking to myself, "Oh, yeah, all of my stereotypes about Nigerian men are absolutely true. This is what I get for not listening to my intuition." So I ended up sending him this text, this long text basically saying, "Hey, I don't think this is going to work out because I notice like you smoke and you do all these different things that I'm just not interested in. So I don't think we're compatible." And I just had to block his ass after that. I didn't even wait for him to respond. I just blocked him because I already knew he was one of those guys that was going to try to gradually brainwash me into becoming like him. And then, oh, I forgot to say, he also brought up colorism during the date. So I had met this guy at a bar. That's also mistake number 1 because I had never been on a date before with a guy that I had met at a bar. That was my first and last time doing that. So I met him because I went to a bar with my friend who is an unambiguous dark-skinned black girl, and she's very pretty, she's in shape, she literally has the perfect body, everything, she's perfect. Okay? So me and her went to the bar together and both of us were getting hit on. So the Nigerian guy, he was one of the guys hitting on us. He talked about how basically with me and my friend, he said light skinned girls are not better than dark skinned girls. So he literally just randomly brings this up. I said absolutely nothing about skin tone. By the way, this guy was light skinned himself. So he said that he couldn't decide who he wanted to talk to at the bar. Like, he didn't know if he wanted to talk to me, talk to my friend, or talk to any of the other black girls in the bar. And he said that he ended up picking me because he liked the way that I made him feel. Because he said that I was smiling and basically smiling at him, I guess. I don't remember directly smiling at him, but apparently, because I was smiling a lot, it made him feel comfortable talking to me. And so that came off as a humbling tactic though, because you're literally trying to say that, "Hey, I don't want you to think that I only chose you based on your skin tone. I basically just chose you because you boosted my ego by smiling at me." So, yeah, I d so that was my first and last time dating a Nigerian. Number 3, men who I do not date. Guys with diamonds in their teeth. So you're telling me you can afford diamonds in your teeth, but you can't pay off your credit card debt. You can afford to get an entire grill, but you can't even afford to make your teeth straight. So your whole bottom row is fucked up. Your teeth are literally rotting on the bottom. You have hella cavities. You have hella gaps in the bottom row of your teeth, but somehow you can afford to have diamonds at the top. Meanwhile, you have gingivitis. Your whole entire mouth is messed up. You have bacteria, but somehow you can afford grills. Number 4 is men who complain about their careers. I don't date men who complain about their jobs and stuff because they're bad at manifesting. They are not self actualized and they always get jealous of my career because I do what I love. I get paid to cuss people out on YouTube. I get paid to talk shit. I get paid to talk about exoticals and pretty privilege and stuff. And a lot of men that I've dated in the past who hate their jobs, they they always end up getting jealous of my ambition. They get upset that I'm able to get paid doing the things I love. And it's like, dude, that's not my problem. It's not my fault that you're bad at manifesting. It's not my fault that you are not socially strategic at getting the life that you want. So I decided recently I'm no longer going to date men who hate their jobs, men who can't even get the job they want. So you're telling me you can't even manifest the career you want, but I'm supposed to believe that you're able to manifest the relationship that you want? The math ain't mathin', boo. I think I'm on number 5. Men who eat soul food every day. You're over here eating mac and cheese, collard greens, yams, black eyed peas. I'm being a troll, but it's like you're eating all of this crap and then you complain about having a beer belly. You complain about your cholesterol being messed up. You're eating fried foods. And then I've noticed a pattern where the men who like soul food, they're going to gradually start pressuring me to make soul food. And I'm not talking about black men because a lot of people, when I make these videos, they think I'm just talking about black men. No, I've dated non black men who love soul food and who eat soul food every day. And they specifically want to date a black woman because they're expecting you to start cooking them that type of food. Like I've literally had that happen to me with non black men. And it's like, why would I want to eat that shit every single day? Why would I want to have a stomach full of Crisco grease? Why would I want to go in the bathroom and I literally have to boo boo every 5 minutes because I just ate 10 pounds of mac and cheese? And I love the soul food mac and cheese. That's so good. That's my favorite. I might go to a soul food restaurant one of these days because I've been craving soul food lately. But it's like, why would I eat that every day? Of course, you're going to end up being 200 pounds because you eat soul food every single day. Number 6, men who act different around their bros. So you just ignored me for 4 hours during the football game. And then you want me to bend it over and bust it wide open this evening. No, you can't ignore somebody or try to like impress your friends and try to act like, oh, I'm cool. That's my girlfriend. She's standing off to the side. And then later on, you expect me to be happy and just be willing to have sex. That's not how life works, dude. That's not how life works. Have you ever been around those guys where they're very compassionate and loving when you're alone, but then when they're in front of their friends, they don't want to be seen as soft? And so they don't wanna be affectionate towards you. I can't stand guys like that. I'm done with guys like that. I'm done. Like, that's just very immature. So, you don't want your friends to make fun of you. Like, I've dated a guy in the past where anytime we would go out and he was not black, anytime he would go out, sometimes his little friends, they'd be like, "Oh, you're so soft. Oh, look at you. You're simping." Or they would make those little kissy faces. You know those little obnoxious frat guys where they make fun of their friend who actually has someone who loves him, and in reality, they're just jealous, and I would try to tell him like, "Hey, they're just jealous of you. They're jealous because they don't have girlfriends. They're jealous because no woman wants them, so they're just mad that you actually have someone. That's why they're making fun of you." But nope, he was more preoccupied with impressing his friends versus actually having a healthy relationship. So I no longer date men who prioritize impressing their friends more than they prioritize healthy relationships. Number 7, men with victim mentalities and inferiority complexes. You just spent an hour explaining how the government hates you, your mom and dad hate you, you'll never pass the glass ceiling, you're just another black man caught up in the mix trying to make a dollar out of 15 cents. The government took you out of the home. Capitalism is against you. But then you want me to tie my life to yours? The math ain't mathin'. That doesn't even make sense. Why would I tie my life to someone who just spent an hour explaining to me how he's at the bottom? So you just explained to me how you have all these traumas, you have all these generational curses, your whole entire bloodline and lineage is messed up, your family members can't get into this country, or you've got all this bad family history, but you expect me to put you on a pedestal? You expect me to think that you're supposed to be my Prince Charming after you just explained to me that you're basically a peasant in society? Oh my God, I'm such a troll. I think I'm on number 8. Men who pressure me into marriages while simultaneously not meeting my qualifications for marriage. A lot of people, they see my content, they see my decentering men stuff, they think that I hate marriage. They think that I hate men. No, I actually don't hate every single man on this earth. I actually don't hate marriage. The point of me doing decentering men content is so you can do what it says, which is decenter men. That's all it is. You're just no longer putting them on the pedestal. That's all you're doing is prioritizing other things besides men. So it's not that I hate marriage, it's that most men don't meet my standards for marriage. So why would I center my life around finding a unicorn? Why would I center my life around something that may not exist? That's my whole point. So men who pressure me into marriages, but then you don't want to work to meet my qualifications for marriage, I'm not marrying you. Don't get mad if you talk to me about marriage and then I say no, and then I start naming off the reasons why I'm not interested in marrying you at this time. Like, if you can't afford to provide for a woman, if you don't have a provider mindset, and that's another thing, another type of man that I don't date, men who don't have a provider's mindset. I feel like a lot of men, when they hear the word provider, they think that women are just like trying to be gold diggers and you only want a rich man. No, you can have a provider mindset and not be a billionaire. Provider mindset just means you don't want to see your woman struggle. So if you don't have a provider mindset, if you're the type of man who can sit there and watch me work 2 jobs, watch me work 3 jobs, watching me struggle, or you don't care about me having a good life, or if you're not willing to do the emotional work, like if you don't have emotional stamina, I don't want to marry you. Marriage takes a lot of emotional stamina. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to like talk about your feelings. So you're not even aware of your own feelings, but then you have the audacity to get upset when I say, oh no, I'm not really interested in getting married at this time. And here's why. Also, have you guys noticed that when you ask a man to define what love is, usually he will start describing codependency. He'll say things like, "Oh, I want a girl who doesn't focus on the problem. I want a girl who doesn't argue with me. She avoids conflict. I want a girl who she takes responsibility for my feelings. She prioritizes my feelings." All of those things are actually codependency. Usually, when men talk about a woman who's very caring, what they really mean is they want a caretaker. They want a nurse and a purse. They want a caretaker. They want a caregiver. They want a hospice wife. That's what they want. If you go on to Bourbon Bougie's channel, she talks about this all the time. Men want a nurse and a purse. So that's codependency. That's not love, bro. That's not love. So you're telling me you can't even define what love is. You don't know what healthy love is. You're not going into a relationship thinking about what you have to offer. You want to ask me what I bring to the table, yet you don't bring anything to the table. In fact, you want the woman to bring the whole table. And that's her way of proving her love to you, but then you don't want to do anything to prove your love to her. The math ain't mathin'. Number 11, men who make everything into a debate. So you're telling me you have all of these debating skills, yet you didn't go to law school. You don't know how to negotiate a higher salary. And has anyone noticed that a man's debating skills, they only work with women? So you're good at debating with women, but you're not good at standing up for yourself in the workplace. You're not good at building something in society. You're not good at becoming a public speaker. I mean, at least Martin Luther King actually became a public speaker. At least Barack Obama and all these other people became politicians. They learned how to utilize their speaking skills so that they can like build a career or like do something with it. So for the men who make everything into an argument, everything is a debate, they want to prove that they're right about all these different things, but then they don't know how to make money off of those skills. I get paid to argue with people. I get paid to talk my shit. I get paid to debate. I learned how to make money off of my skills that can sometimes be annoying. So at least I am building something based on my shit. What are you building besides a bad relationship? Okay, sorry, I just had to pause it for a second. My friend just texted me saying she just dumped a guy who was a dusty. But anyway, let's see. I think I was on probably like number 11. Types of men that I do not date. Generation X men. I've noticed that guys who are Gen X, like if you're a Gen X guy, you are depressed as hell. You do not go to therapy. You have an outdated mindset. You think you can get rich by working a 9 to 5, and then you get pissed when you only receive a 5% promotion at your job. You're scared of your own parents, who are boomers. The only emotions you know how to express if you're a Gen X guy are anger and sadness, but then you don't know how to keep the same energy with your crazy boomer parents. I just feel like a lot of Gen X men, they have a lot of issues. Like, and also when it comes to dating, um, I want to be able to send you SpongeBob memes or like, I don't know, I just want to be able to make certain cultural jokes. And whenever I've been around a Gen X guy, we don't have the same sense of humor. Like he doesn't seem to understand the jokes that I'm making. And I used to do age gap dating, but I think I'm done with it. Or like I feel like the humor is just not there. And also a lot of Gen X guys are balding now. It's like if a guy is Gen X, what year is that? What, like 1960? Like my parents are Gen X. So it's like what, 1960 to like 1979 or something. So guys who are Gen X at this point, they have hit the wall. And for those of you who like to say that women hit the wall, men can hit the wall as well. You literally have a beer belly. You're literally bald. Your beard looks messed up. You have patches of gray. I just feel like a lot of Gen X guys have just given up on life. So I don't have time to deal with that level of apathy. I don't have time to deal with that level of depression. Like I still have hope in life. Okay. So yeah, I don't have time for it. Number 12, men whose favorite genre of music is rap. If you listen to a lot of rap music, you are a cheater and a misogynist. I dated one guy who listened to a lot of rap music. Like, we were a match made in hell. This guy was a Gen Xer. He liked rap music. And of course, he was also a cheater. This guy had a whole other phone. Like, that's how serious he was about his cheating skills. So he allowed me to look at his phone anytime. So at first I was like, oh, he seems really trustworthy. You know, like he never hides his phone or anything. Nope, he had a whole other phone. And he used to listen to rap music. And I remember when I got with my most recent ex after that guy, I told him the story about the previous guy, how he had another phone for cheating. And then the guy was like, "Oh yeah, a lot of guys do that. Like you've never heard that song about having two phones and how you use one phone for cheating?" And I was like, "Wait, they have entire rap songs that literally teach people how to cheat on their girlfriends?" Like that, I thought I knew rap music was bad, but I didn't know that it became that bad to where men are literally out here telling other men how to cheat. They're literally promoting cheating in the music. They're promoting disrespecting women. I mean, when people say that trap music is like disrespectful to women, I thought that they just meant in general. No, no, no. They're literally giving men instructions like this is how you cheat. You have one phone for the main girl and then you have another phone for hoes. So yeah, I no longer even date men whose favorite genre of music is rap, or if I'm riding in the car with him and he listens to a lot of rap music, red flag. I think I'm on number 13. Men with injuries. So if he is injury prone, something's always hurting, he's always breaking a bone, he's always like he can barely walk, he's over here walking with canes and shit. I am young, I'm healthy, I'm able-bodied. I want to go backpacking in Europe. I want to go to Disneyland. I want to go hiking. I want to go skiing and kayaking and like there are so many things that I want to do, so I don't have time for like some man that is constantly injured. This is why I've stopped dating Gen X men for now. I mean, I'm not saying that like I can't ever change my mind on any of these things, but it's like I don't have time for all these injuries and shit. And for the guys who are like, "Oh, that's not fair. I tore my ACL. I ruptured my Achilles. I have bad knees." Okay, well, too bad. You guys would leave a woman if she had something wrong or if she was ill. You would definitely leave a woman if she had an injury where she couldn't have sex. So, no, I'm not driving you to the doctors. I'm not pushing you around in a wheelchair. I'm not helping you elevate your leg. I'm not going to walk super slow because you're on crutches again because you didn't know how to care for yourself. You didn't know how to do stretches. I do stretches and stuff. Like every evening before I go to bed, I do my little yoga stretches. I might touch my toes or like, raise my arms above my head. So I do little small habits every day as a form of self care. So a man who is constantly injuring himself every 5 seconds, or if he's constantly sick, he's constantly catching a cold, he constantly has infections, he's always got bronchitis, he's always got allergies to everything, he never carries his EpiPen. No, I don't have time for that because that shows that you're irresponsible. You don't care about yourself. So, how are you going to properly care for me? Those types of guys are looking for a caregiver. They want a caretaker. They want a woman to be a free nurse, and especially if you work in the medical field. So I do have some experience working kind of like adjacent to the medical field or in the medical field a little bit because of my family background. And so I've noticed that I have had a tendency to attract a lot of guys where they're attracted to my little skills with like homeopathic medicine and natural remedies. And they like the fact that I have all this knowledge on essential oils and that I try to do like these holistic self care plans and stuff. So many guys have tried to come into my life. They want to utilize my knowledge so that I can be their personal naturopathic doctor. And I'm not doing it. I'm using my skills for myself. Okay. So if you don't even have the same level of skills as me, who's going to take care of me? I can't be everybody's superwoman. I can't be everybody's therapist. I can't be everybody's doctor. So just because you are too broke to afford healthcare or you're too broke to afford self pay, you can't pay to take yourself to the doctor. You can't pay to take yourself to the dentist, or you're too lazy to do it. So then you expect me to spend all this time Googling and researching. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be your free care team. I'm not going to be your free urgent care. I am not a medical assistant. So a lot of guys who are injury prone, they're really looking for a woman to be their free medical assistant. They want a woman that's gonna be in the kitchen making him soup every other week, but then whenever you get sick, oh, suddenly he's tired, suddenly he doesn't have time, suddenly he has to work late. I'm not falling for it anymore. And that leads me to my next point. Number 14, men who do a whole bunch of pranks and extreme stuff for attention. So these are the guys who like to jump off cliffs. They like to go to forbidden hiking areas. They like to hang over the edge of the Grand Canyon so they can get a good picture. So you're telling me you can take all these big risks when it comes to fucking up your body, but you can't take the risk to start a business. You can't take the risk to become emotionally vulnerable. You can't take a risk to go back to school. You're dusty. You just want attention. You want validation. You don't want stability. You don't want a woman. You want self esteem. You want sensation. You're a sensation seeking person. You know those guys where they're constantly seeking a new sensation, they constantly want excitement. And don't get me wrong, I want sensation as well. I'm a high sensation seeker, but I'm not so imbalanced to the point where I'm willing to be irresponsible or risk my life just so I can seek a high sensation. So this is why I usually don't date guys who drive these crazy fast cars and stuff because I don't want to go 225 miles per hour on the highway. For what? I don't wanna do that. That doesn't impress me. That actually would make me feel scared. I don't want a guy who's willing to risk his life and mine just so he can impress me or something. That doesn't sound fun to me. In fact, that would make me feel like he potentially wants to unalive me and himself. I've just noticed that guys who are high sensation seekers, they're more likely to unalive themselves, whether it's by accident or on purpose. So, yeah, those guys who jump into freezing lakes and stuff like that, I'm not interested. That does not sound cute. Number 15, men who are not American. How are we supposed to communicate when you don't even speak English? The fuck? And you can't say I'm xenophobic because I'm Blaxican. I have family members who come from different backgrounds. If you go back in my family history, I have family members from all over the place. But bitch, I'm fucking American. So yeah, if you're not American, or if you don't understand Americans or American history, or if you're stupid enough to talk shit about the country that I come from. Have you ever noticed that the people who talk shit about America, you have so much shit to talk about America, yet your ass is desperate to come here. And then for the people who say, "Oh, well, your people were slaves. African Americans were slaves." Bitch, I'm not ashamed of my background like how you are. And also, what does that have to do with anything? So you have the audacity to talk shit about African Americans being slaves. Meanwhile, I just saw some of your cousins on TikTok working in a sweatshop last week. I literally just saw some of your family members selling dead monkeys on the side of the street or living in countries that don't even have an economy at all. Your country's economy is based on the economy of my country. Oh, well, it's not your country. Bitch, yes it is. So you want to say this is not my country and what is this your country because you just got here. So what are you talking about? Is this a competition? See, that's an inferiority complex. You have hierarchy thinking. You make life into a competition. It's a competition. Who's the most American? Who is the most privileged in terms of the country they live in? That's hierarchy thinking. I don't want to be anywhere near somebody who has hierarchy thinking in any way. So I don't care if you're from America. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Indian, black, doesn't matter. I don't want anybody who's going to make being American into a competition. And for the people who say, "Oh, well, you're part Mexican." The Mexicans, they were over here crossing the border and jumping over fences and swimming so they can get to the United States. Bitch, Hispanic people have been in the United States since the 1800s and even prior to that. So, what are you talking about? You're extremely uneducated. You stereotype people like an idiot. Oh, well, African Americans have no culture. That's false. I understand my African American history. I have family members who literally were a part of the civil rights movement. And I literally have pictures in my photo album with Martin Luther King in the photos. My background is African American from Louisiana. My family still has land in Louisiana right now. How much land does your family have in your country? Oh, what? The country that you tried to escape to come to mine? So you got all this shit to talk about Americans, but then as soon as I keep the same energy, now you get all offended. So do you see that energy where you can dish it out, but you can't take it back? You don't want to talk shit to an American. I'm just saying. I don't care if it's a Hispanic American, African American, white American. You don't want to talk shit to people who are proud of the countries that they come from, no matter what their history is. See, I can't relate to you in that area. So that's another reason why I don't date men who talk shit about my national background because as soon as I start talking shit about their national background, then suddenly they get all offended. I'm like, well, that's what happens when you dish it out and you can't take it back. Don't talk shit about other people's countries if you don't want them to talk shit about your country. And I'm the type of person that will keep that same energy. You come for me, I come for you. You come for my historical background, I come for your historical background. And for the people who say, "Oh, well, you're a rape baby. You're the daughter of colonizers and rapists." Actually, no, I'm not. Actually, the white part of my background, my family members were immigrants who came over on Ellis Island in New York. So I actually know my family history. I have records that talk about where my family background is from. Because white people are also not a monolith. Not every white person is a rapist. Not every mixed race African American is a child of rape. And I find it interesting how you have no problem making rape jokes about mixed race African Americans, but as soon as I talk about your country being completely messed up and having no infrastructure whatsoever, you guys literally live in huts and shacks and dig out of garbage cans. As soon as I start mentioning that, then suddenly I'm being xenophobic. How am I xenophobic when I have more international people in my family than you probably do? I have people in my family from all over the world. I have people in my family lineage who are from multiple different countries. You probably don't. Yet you have the audacity to call me xenophobic. Why is it that people love calling African Americans in particular, or any sort of American, Hispanic American as well, or even white American? So every person who's American is xenophobic, but suddenly you're not xenophobic. but you make rape jokes, you make jokes about people being wetbacks and swimming across borders and jumping over fences. You make jokes about people getting raped or picking cotton, yet I'm being xenophobic? No, you're just ignorant. You're looking to clout chase and coattail ride off of my national history. Oh, well, this is not your country. Well, whose country is it, bitch? Because it certainly isn't yours. Your ass just got here. So what are you talking about? I can track everything that has to do with my history in this country. Every cultural group has negative aspects of their history. Every cultural group, black, white, Hispanic, whoever, has negative things that happen in their family background. So if you want to weaponize slavery, or you want to weaponize Hispanic immigration, or you want to weaponize rape against my American background, don't get mad when I do the same thing to you. Don't get mad when I call out your inferiority complex because I don't feel inferior based on my background being connected to slavery. I don't feel inferior based on my background being connected to the Hispanic community. I don't feel inferior based on my background being connected to immigration. Do you? You can't make somebody feel bad if they don't have an insecurity in that area. So, the issue that I've had with non American men in general, or sometimes even non American women of all races, is as soon as they start weaponizing the country that I come from, when I do the same thing, suddenly they want to get all offended. Yeah, that's because you had an inferiority complex this whole time. You thought that you could project that inferiority complex onto me, then you got mad when it didn't work. So it's like, okay, my family members were slaves or immigrants or whatever, and your family members are digging out of garbage cans currently. And also, I'm proud of the progress that all of my people groups have made to make me who I am today. I'm proud of my background. I have no problem talking about African American history. I have no problem talking about Hispanic history. I have no problem talking about the different types of European history. You're the one who has a problem with your cultural history. You're the one whose father and grandfather and great grandfathers didn't pave the way for you to be where you are today, which is why you're trying to be a part of my community. So put some respect on my name, and I'll put some respect on your name. And this is not geared towards like anybody from other countries, but just in general, like anybody who talks shit about people from other countries. It's like, no, you're stereotyping me. You can't talk shit about other people's nations and then get mad when they talk about your nations. Oh, well, I don't like African Americans. Well, I don't like Hispanic Americans. Well, I don't like white Americans. Okay, then, bitch, don't be around me. I'm not asking you to be here. I didn't beg you to be here. My family paved the way so that I could have the opportunities that I have. My family paved the way so they could purchase the land, so that they fought in the civil rights movement. They immigrated to the countries they needed to immigrate to hundreds of years ago. They're not just now catching up to the fact that they need economic growth to the point where now suddenly they're like, oh, hey, maybe we should move. No, my family already realized that way back then. They were already tapped in hundreds of years ago. So there's nothing you can do or say to make me feel insecure about the country that I live in. There's nothing you can do or say to make me feel insecure about my cultural background. No, I'm not ashamed of the fact that I had family members that were slaves. I've never picked cotton a day in my life. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for my family members who survived all of the atrocities of things like immigration or, picking cotton or racism or whatever. So I'm very proud of the resilience that I come from. You're the one who feels inferior about your country. I don't feel inferior about mine. So you won't be able to catch me with that one. But anyway, yeah, that's part of why I just don't tend to date men who they talk shit about America or they're not American or they disrespect the country that I'm in because they disrespected their own country. They don't like their own country, which is why they left. And so they're hoping that by disrespecting your country or by bringing up the atrocities that your people have faced in your country, they're hoping that you'll feel bad about it because they feel bad about theirs. And it's like, no, you ain't gonna get me with that one. You won't be able to humble me. Bitch, I'm already cocky. I'm cocky about my country. I'm cocky about my racial backgrounds. I'm cocky about my phenotype. You won't be able to make me feel inferior or insecure about any of that. So now what? How you like them apples? I'm cut from a different cloth, baby. So if you're not cut from the same cloth as me, or if you don't like my cloth, or you don't like my culture, you don't like my nations, you don't like certain people, black people, white people, Hispanic, whatever, then bye. Kick rocks. Go find someone from your background. If your cultural background is so great and so wonderful and you love it so much and mine is so inferior, then why are you here? And then for the people who say, "Oh, well, African Americans are very entitled and they're very ignorant and, they don't know how to use their resources." Okay. And who gonna check me? Like seriously, let's say that my background is, I'm entitled, I don't know how to use my resources. Then why would you want to date me? Why would you want to date women from a culture that you hate? Why? If African Americans are trash, or if Hispanic Americans or white Americans are trash, why are you trying to date women of that culture? Don't date them then. Go date women who measure up to your standards. So I just feel like sometimes people they try to use your national background as a humbling tactic, and it's idiotic because they don't understand American history. They don't understand the melting pot that the United States is. And like I said, of course America has a dark history just like every other nation, boo. So you're telling me that America is the only country that has ever had bad things happen? No, your country has probably done some fucked up shit as well. So don't get mad when I start bringing up the bad stuff that your country has done, or how your country can't even surpass being a third world country. Don't get mad when I start checking you about your background. So I'm just saying, I just feel like sometimes when people when they say kind of like these xenophobic things, or when they say like these racist things, suddenly they get mad when you start keeping the same energy. It's like, oh, okay, so you just want to be able to talk shit about me, but I can't talk shit about you. And I also feel like a lot of people who make negative comments about entire countries unsolicited, especially if they're dating you or something, it's like, okay, you have an inferiority complex. So you already have an inferiority complex about your height, about your looks, about your race, and now you also have an inferiority complex about your whole country? And now you're trying to project that onto me? I don't feel like my country is inferior to other countries like how you do. I don't feel like my background or like the atrocities from my background are horrible and inferior. I don't feel like any of those things make me inferior. My African American background is not a handicap. My Hispanic American background or European background, none of those things make me inferior. So I'm not ashamed of any of those things. I'm not ashamed to talk about any of those things. In fact, I celebrate those things. Oh, well, you're trying to be white. No, you're just ignorant because you assume that first world country equals whiteness. You're actually the one who's the racist one. You're actually the white supremacist. It's the hypocrisy for me. Number 16 of men who I don't date. Men whose eyes bulge out of their head. I associate that with serial killers. I'm just being honest. Like, if he has those really big bulging eyes, if he has like veins popping out of his forehead and neck, I just associate that with like sociopaths. Number 17, extremely religious men. They're going to preach to me randomly, they're going to lecture me. And that's a sexual turnoff. I don't want to be thinking about Allah or Buddha or Jesus or whatever when it comes time to have sex. Also, some of them, the ones who talk about celibacy, usually those guys are porn addicts. I've noticed that because of my background, I tend to attract a lot of pastors. I attract a lot of ministers and worship leaders and whatever, like church guys. And so those guys, they will be celibate, but they're actually not. They're just looking at porn. They're just porn addicts. They have too much anxiety to have sex in real life. And so they're just used to always using corn because when you use corn, you're not going to get rejected. You don't actually have to learn the woman's body. So a lot of corn addicts are actually they're lazy. They're just sexually lazy. They don't wanna risk the rejection, they don't wanna have to seduce you, they don't wanna have to, like, be sexually attractive, so it's just easier for them to use the corn. So I don't really have time for that, I don't want that in my life. Number 18, men who wear high water pants. Yeah, I'm just not into it. I associate it with poverty, and I also associate it with, like, I don't it kinda feels like they're trying to be trendy, like, the guys that wear capris and stuff like that? That's kind of how it looks. It looks like you're wearing capri pants. I just feel like it can be It's kind of sus. It's sus. It's giving you maybe on the DL. And also, I prefer men who are tall. So, wearing these capri pants, it kind of makes your legs look shorter. It kind of can make their body look a little bit disproportionate. And also, if you're wearing those capri pants and then your ankles are ashy, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? And you know what? That actually made me think of something else. Men who don't wear socks. So it's like, okay, you're wearing dress shoes with no socks, you're wearing tennis shoes with no socks, you're wearing all these different shoes with no socks. I already know that you're going to be smelling like Fritos. So you're not wearing any socks. It's 95 degrees in the middle of California. It's 95 degrees in the middle of Atlanta, and you're walking around with no socks. I already know that there is a puddle of sweat underneath those toes. You probably have athlete's foot. I do not want you in my bed. I don't want you getting your nasty foot fungus, nasty toe jam all up in my sheets. No. So you're wearing high water pants and you have no socks on and your ankles are ashy? I can't do it. I can't do it. I don't have time for it because I'm going to have to teach you how to use lotion. I'm going to have to go buy some Aveeno and Jergens and Cetaphil. I'm going to have to buy all this shit to help you moisturize your skin. I got to get almond oil. We're going to have to go to the doctor and we're going to have to get some Dr. Teals and all this crap just to get rid of the athlete's foot. I'm not doing that because once again, those guys, they need caregivers. They don't need a girlfriend. They need a doctor. They don't need a girlfriend. They need a podiatrist. And you know what? That actually reminds me of another one. Guys that have long toenails. That's nasty. That's just like, come on, man. So you're telling me you have long toenails and it's green. I can't do it. Okay, I just sound really weird right now. Number 20, men who are disorganized because they tend to be broke. So, like, if I think about the types of guys I'm attracted to, I've just noticed that I tend to find organizational skills to be more attractive. That makes me feel safe. If a man is very disorganized with his time, he's disorganized with his finances. I don't know. I just start thinking to myself, okay, what other areas is he disorganized in? Like, I've dated guys in the past where they're so organized, they will have a whole itinerary for my birthday. They'll have a whole itinerary for a trip that we're going on. They will create an Excel spreadsheet to tell me about the activities we're going to do when we go on our vacation. And so here you are with your disorganized ass. I'll ask you, like, oh, what do you like to do in your free time? Or like, what are you doing this weekend? I don't know. Okay, well, how long are you going to be working? I don't know. Okay, well, when is the business going to get off the ground? I don't know. You're disorganized. So if you're disorganized with your time, you're probably going to be disorganized with your finances. You're probably going to have a disorganized emotional state. So I don't have time for chaos. I don't need a schizophrenic all up in my personal space. I just, if he has any sort of mental illness, anything that starts to point to a mental illness, I don't want to get too close to him because it's going to start rubbing off onto me. And also, guys who are disorganized, they tend to get extremely triggered and annoyed by my personality. So, has anybody else noticed that the same thing that a man finds attractive in you is the same thing that he gets annoyed by a couple of months later? So I've noticed that with me, a lot of guys, they're very attracted to my ambition. They love the fact that I'm assertive. They love my confidence. They love that I'm well spoken. And then 6 months later, oh my God, you get on my nerves. Like, why do you always have to say it like that? Why do you always have to do it like that? Okay, so I went from an organized, assertive boss bitch to suddenly I'm controlling, I'm masculine. So that's another hypocrisy. I don't like that either. It's like, dude, pick a struggle. Do you want the struggle of dealing with a woman who is confident? Because a woman who's confident is going to be confident when she leaves you as well. So that's just something to remember. I mean, I just want to put that out there. But yeah, I can't be around a guy who is super disorganized because that's very unattractive to me. And usually those guys, they get ticked off because they start thinking that I'm a perfectionist, which I'm actually not at all. I don't consider myself to be the most organized person, but I have definitely gotten annoyed though if a guy is just he doesn't know what he wants, he doesn't know how he feels, he doesn't know what he wants to do in life. It's like, dude, you're in your 40s. How do you not know what you want to do in life? So if you don't know what you want to do in life, how am I supposed to trust that you want to be with me? The math ain't mathin'. The next one is men who are not resourceful and don't understand alchemy. I like to get paid off of my hobbies. Okay. So I'm a natural builder. I like doing YouTube. I found a way to get paid off of it. So if I'm around a guy who has all these amazing hobbies, but then he's kind of like just wasting his time with these hobbies. He doesn't know how to get paid off of them. He doesn't know how to really benefit off of them. He can't really build off of them. He doesn't have multiple streams of income. I'm going to start to look at him sideways because I like to take advantage of all of my resources. I like to use what I have in order to gain something more. That's a part of being a builder. So if a man is not resourceful, he's not a builder. That's it. He's not a builder. So I'm going to end up being the builder. I'm going to end up being the one that is strategizing on everything. And it's like, those guys that play video games and stuff. Okay, if you're going to play video games, you can at least be a professional gamer. You can at least be a professional streamer. You can at least be a semi-pro athlete. Like, those guys that spend 20 hours a week training for a marathon, they're training for half marathons, they're doing ultra marathons, triathlons. Okay, are you getting paid off of this or like why are you doing this? And I'm not saying it like you have to get paid off of every single hobby, but I do like to see a man who makes progress in everything that he does because that makes me feel more safe. Like, okay, so he started off doing triathlons, now he's getting sponsored by Nike to do his triathlon. So even if he's not a professional athlete, he is still getting sponsorships. That's another stream of income. That's going to make me feel like, oh wow, I'm impressed because you got a whole other stream of income versus a man who just spends all this time doing all these different hobbies. I feel like sometimes people use their hobbies as a form of escapism. And I don't mind a little bit of escapism. Like, I think that's actually good. Going on vacation, like, I get it. It's a form of self care. But there's a fine line between self care and you just trying to avoid dealing with your own emotional issues. Because the men who struggle with too much escapism, usually those men have very deep seated emotional issues. That's something that I've learned, dealing with guys who have more money. Like, the guys that have more money, if he's going on a vacation literally every 3 weeks, after a while, I start questioning, like, okay, is he going on these vacations because he just enjoys traveling, or is he, like, trying to escape from something within himself? Is he a high sensation seeker? Because some of those guys, they're high sensation seekers or they're sex addicts and they're doing sex tourism and maybe you don't know about it. Like, these are all issues that you start dealing with when you start dating men who are at the six-figure mark and above. That's a pattern that I'm beginning to notice now that I'm in my 30s. I'm noticing some of these guys, they're using their hobbies as a way to hide their addictions. Or maybe they want to travel just so they can get away from you. Or, he's trying to play video games so he can escape doing his parenting duties with the kids. He just wants to go in the kitchen and cook for 12 hours so that he can avoid spending quality time with you because he doesn't want to talk to you. He doesn't want to emotionally open up. So that's something else that I look at. Like, men who are they're doing their hobbies, but then they use their hobbies as an excuse to escape dealing with their own emotions. Any man who wants to escape his emotions, that's not a man I'm going to trust. Why should I trust you with my emotions if you can't even deal with your own emotions? Make that make sense. Number 21, men who are dreamers and not doers. Have you ever met a guy who is like so good at selling dreams? He knows how to talk the talk. He has all these amazing ideas. He is so smart. He's got all these ideas for inventions and patents and whatever. He knows all these different conspiracies. He's got all these psychological theories, but he never finds a way to actually get paid off of it. He never finds a way to actually build anything. He talks about building communities for men, but he never actually creates those communities. He thinks that men should have a safe space, but he never goes out and creates a safe space for men. He doesn't go out and start a support group. He doesn't go out and start the nonprofit. He doesn't go out and help the little black boys in the hood. and speak at the high schools. I've actually gone and volunteered and spoken at high schools before. Like literally within the last year I went, I did not get paid. I went and spoke to an inner city African American and Hispanic American middle school, and I talked to them about how to become an accountant, and I talked to them about all these different things because I actually care about people in my community. How many men do you see that are actually doing that? So it really like turns me off if I see that a man is a talker or he's a dreamer and he has all these changes he wants to see in the world, but he's not being the change that he wants to see. So you talk about being a role model. You want a woman who's a positive role model, but you're not a positive role model. You want a woman who cares about the Hispanic community, but you don't even care about the Hispanic community. Are you going out and helping the Hispanic nonprofits? Are you going out and speaking to kids in the inner city schools? Because I know I am. I can actually talk, I can back up my shit that I talk about on this channel. Can you back up your shit? No, you can't. So that's another thing that turns me off. Men who are dreamers or men who complain about society, but then they don't do anything to try to change it. They don't even try, but then you want to sit up and talk shit. 22. Men who pretend to be providers while simultaneously resenting you after providing for you. It's like, dude, you're the one who promoted the fact that you were a lawyer. You promoted the fact that you own an accounting firm. You promoted the fact that you have a yacht. You promoted the fact that you own 5 properties. But suddenly, when it's time for you to take me out or do something for me, suddenly I'm hindering you from your savings goals. So if you make 6 figures and then you wine and dine me, and that's how you drew me in, that's how you attracted a woman was by wining and dining her, then suddenly you complain or you stop doing it. Don't get mad when she leaves you. You can't come into a relationship and set the standard and kind of promote yourself as this wealthy guy and you're just this Casanova, you're financially stable, you've got it all figured out. And then when you run out of money, suddenly it's, "Oh, well she's draining me financially." No, you cannot afford to date within that league. You're shooting above your league. Stop doing that. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That's what a lot of men say. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay, so you can't afford to date the types of women that you want. The types of women that you want, you do not have the financial means to be around those women. And that's okay. Just be single. Just be single, dude. If you don't want to take a woman on a date, just be single. If you can't afford to do more than one date, then be single. Don't get mad if you don't have a girlfriend. You only can afford to take a woman on one date. The average man spends about, I think it's $150 per month on dating. Okay, so the average woman is not going to become your girlfriend within 1 month. So you're probably going to have to spend more than $150 in order to even have her time to even get to know her. So that's the way the dating market is. That's what you led with. You worked all that time. You went to get your PhD, you went to get your MBA and become an accountant or become a doctor. So you went through all of that. And now you're mad that women are attracted to the fact that you have money. Number 23, men who don't emotionally comfort me. If I'm sad and you don't care, that's a red flag. If I'm angry, if I'm crying, or if I seem like upset and you don't even want to comfort me, you don't give me a hug, you don't tell me everything's going to be all right, that's a sign that you are emotionally unavailable. You don't know how to soothe your own emotions, probably. And so that's not going to make me feel emotionally safe. I definitely am not going to spend my life with someone I don't feel emotionally safe with. A lot of guys, they don't prioritize their emotions, and they definitely don't prioritize the woman's emotions. And then they'll say stuff like, "Well, I have money. That's all women care about." No, it's actually not. Women just have higher standards than men. That's what it is. You only care about a woman's looks. Just because that's all you care about, that doesn't mean that that's all that women care about. So you're just mad because the woman you're with has higher standards than you. So she was enough for you because she's pretty. That's all you wanted. But women, they want a guy who is fit, masculine, friendly, loyal, faithful, has money. has all of his teeth, is not bald, is 6 feet or above. And so this is why I tell women to just go ahead and decenter men because for most women, what you want most likely doesn't exist. And if it does, it's definitely a unicorn. So it's not worth prioritizing. You should just have your fun, be wined and dined, or have sex, or whatever you're trying to do, get whatever needs met that you need to get met, and just don't prioritize finding a unicorn. But for a lot of men, they're so desperate to where any woman that gives them attention, if she's pretty, that's all he needs. And then they turn around and get mad when the woman says, "No, actually, I want more. I want more than just your money. I want your time as well. I want your attention. I want you to be emotionally available." Then he starts getting pissed off, like, "Excuse me, I'm settling for you, so why can't you settle for me?" It's like, dude, that's not going to make the woman stay. That's definitely not going to make the woman want to marry you. Number 24, men who have no hobbies at all. If I ask a guy, "What do you like to do for fun?" and he says, nothing much. I just go to work and come home." Okay, so he has no hobbies, which means he's basically a porn addict. I'm telling you, guys with no hobbies, usually their hobby is pornography or swiping on dating apps. So he's going to end up either being a porn addict or he's going to be a straight up sex addict and cheater, and he's probably gonna be soliciting a lot of prostitutes and stuff. Usually, those are the men who have no hobbies. Their hobby is literally just chasing women. That's their hobby. Their hobby is chasing women or jacking off to corn. So, those are the types of men that I don't date. What do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.